Good day, everybody, and welcome, especially Jochen and Olinda. Thank you so much for joining us in this Zoom call to answer questions that we already received from the audience previously and that are still coming in. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Jochen, you will translate a bit, I hope, for Olinda. Great. The first question that we have is actually immediately for Olinda. Olinda, you mentioned that people talk about environmental issues around the world, but the message does not seem to stick in people's mind. How do you think art can change that?
A primeira pergunta é para você, Olinda. Você faz referência na sua fala que as pessoas falam, mas como fazer que uma mensagem de fato, uma consciência de fato fica na cabeça? Como usar a arte para transmitir essa mensagem?
Eu acho que a arte tem sido muito importante para a gente falar sobre essas questões, principalmente as questões ambientais, questões políticas, questões de território, principalmente para os povos indígenas, né? E quando a gente utiliza a arte, eu acho que para falar sobre isso, a gente atravessa uma fronteira que é ultrapassar os territórios, né? Então a gente consegue levar as mensagens para outros lugares, até fora do Brasil. Eu estou aqui hoje por causa do meu trabalho, então provavelmente se eu não tivesse utilizado da arte para falar de um assunto que é importante para mim, que é importante para o meu povo, talvez eu não estaria aqui. Então eu acho que a arte ela serve para acabar com essas fronteiras, né? Então eu acho que é isso, assim. E a gente tem percebido...
Deixa eu traduzir rapidamente, senão eu vou ficar perdido. Olinda says that art is, let's say, and very important to be able to speak about certain topics, speak about environments, speak about the political, speak about the indigenous cause, the idea of land, territories, and it has been for her very much a tool to cross borders, as she says. It's art as a tool to really speak to people that otherwise would probably not listen to her. She even says, well, I am here, she is here in the Verbier Art Summit because of her art. And she is able to speak because of her art to us about issues that are obviously even larger than art, but this essential point is for her crossing borders.
Super. Thank you so much.
I think she wants to finish still.
Okay, yes.
Olinda, pode continuar, por favor. Desculpa, eu só precisava traduzir.
Não, eu que esqueço. Que tem que ser mais devagar. Então, assim, eu acho que a arte, ela nunca teve tão a favor, né, assim, dos povos indígenas nesse sentido. E eu acho que a Pinacoteca hoje tem cumprido um papel importante para dar visibilidade aos povos indígenas. Isso é importante, né? A gente está em uma instituição, né, que é tão importante, né, aqui no Brasil, e a gente tem percebido que alguns indígenas que fizeram parte do projeto estão conseguindo ter mais visibilidade, né, por causa disso. Então, eu acho que, além da questão da gente poder falar através da arte, possibilitou que a gente, na verdade, ocupar outros espaços, além da Pinacoteca. Então, isso tem sido muito importante para os artistas.
She's saying that art has never been as much in favor of the indigenous cause as it is at the moment. And the museums and Pinacoteca she's mentioning, where I work and where we work together on something, have contributed a lot to really open, let's say, space to be able to speak to and to give visibility to an artistic production, but also, let's say, an activist cause. And it is interesting to see how a lot of artists have in the recent years gained a lot of visibility and were able to reach out to more people through their work in recent years.
Great. This actually leads nicely into the question that we have for you, Jochen, because obviously you've been reflecting on the multiple truth theme with us since 2019. And a question came in asking, how does Pinacoteca make sure that indigenous voices continue to be heard?
That's a very good question. It's very important for us. It was important that let's say our exhibition that we did together with Naini Terena, who many of the summit members and visitors know, who was the curator of the exhibition. It was very important for us that it was not, you know, a one stand only. You know, it was important that it's part of a process that started much earlier through provocations that Naini did to us, you know, a couple of years before. And actually it is an ongoing dialogue with many of the artists ever since. So for example, Olinda participated in the exhibition in 2020. And currently she again works with Pinacoteca on a new commission program where we commissioned her to do a new work, which is at the moment in production. It's a big production that she's made in Sao Paulo, in different other places over the last months. And we're all keen to see how this happens. So that is one. I think it's important to understand that there are many projects kind of evolve over time. But it's also important to say that, you know, we've tried to get our patrons on board at the museum to help us really build a collection that is that naturally involves contemporary artists that are of indigenous background. And we've been very successful. So in 2019, for example, was the first time that we ever acquired indigenous, let's say, artworks by indigenous artists for the State Museum, you know, the Pinacoteca, that is supposed to be the Museum of Brazilian Art. And to think that it was only three years ago is kind of scary. But since then, in 2020 and in 21, we were able to acquire more works for the collection. So now I think we have probably a collection already of over 20 artists represented in the museum collection. And that's still a small step, but it has been very important. And I think Wonderful. It will change the way we think about history in Brazil, art history in Brazil.
Super. Maybe after this call, you can explain to Olinda, and then we can move to the next question, which is actually for Olinda. In her latest short movie, Equilibrio, you address the relation between COVID-19 pandemic and the environmental damage that humans are causing to the planet. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
No seu mais recente filme, Olinda, Equilíbrio, você faz uma conexão entre Covid-19 e a situação ambiental que a gente está vivendo. Você pode explorar isso um pouco mais, essa conexão, e como você trabalha isso no seu filme?
A gente tem visto, né, que todas as mudanças que têm acontecido no planeta, principalmente em relação à destruição, né, das florestas, tem surgido novas pandemias. E, na verdade, o que a gente tem visto é que essas destruições das florestas acaba trazendo novas doenças, né? E que, na verdade, quando essas pandemias acontecem, a gente não vê as pessoas fazendo nenhum tipo de relação. Então, eu quis trazer isso porque eu acho importante que as pessoas percebam que, na verdade, o equilíbrio, né? Quando a gente fala equilíbrio, o equilíbrio está entre a própria natureza. Então, não é que eu acho que a gente tem como viver de uma forma que não vamos poder tocar na natureza, mas eu acho que a gente tem que perceber que a gente tem que tentar ter um equilíbrio maior, que é o que a gente não tem, né? Então, assim, as pessoas acham que pode destruir uma floresta inteira e acham que não vai ter consequências, né? Então, eu quis trazer isso para ver se as pessoas começam a se atentar, né, para essas questões. Então, eu não acho que a pandemia de Covid-19 vai ser a primeira pandemia e que está sendo uma bem duradoura, né? Que até hoje a gente está aí, é quando a gente estava achando que ia começar a dar uma trégua, voltou. Então, eu acho que a gente realmente tentar ter equilíbrio e continua aquela história em que a gente, na verdade, a gente não se preocupa com a coletividade, né? Então, a gente não está pensando na coletividade. Se a gente for analisar toda essa situação do Covid, o que a gente tem percebido é que as pessoas não estão se preocupando com o outro, né? Então, todas essas novas pandemias que estão saindo do próprio Covid-19 tem a ver com o descuidado que as pessoas estão tendo com a própria coletividade, porque... vou parar, porque senão já estiver...
We have seen that there has always been a relation between deforesting or destruction of the forest and pandemics and in health questions. And we've seen this, she says, over a long time. But people don't rarely connect that actually, let's say, the well-being of the forest or of nature is connected to the well-being of all of us and of let's say, a kind of communal health. And that's why she addresses it as an equilibrium. She thinks it's very evident for her, but it seems that people don't make this connection. And as she says, COVID-19 is not the first pandemic. There have been many pandemics, but this is, of course, goes to a scale that we all realize, but there have been many others. And even that doesn't go away. As she says, it continues to be with us. And for her, this is very clearly, let's say, a sign of a lack of care for collectivity, to think collectively, and what she demands or says is, you know, it's time to think collectively and to understand that these things of the forest is directly connected, let's say, to ourselves and to the people around us and to, let's say, a collective fabric that connects us all.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's also very much in line with what Jamila Ribeiro said last year. We need to think in a collective way. Maybe to finish this Q&A, a question for the both of you. What is, do you think, the main point that you would like people to take away from this debate? You're on mute.
Olinda, a pergunta é, qual é a mensagem principal que você queria que as pessoas levassem desse debate?
Eu acho que a mensagem principal seria cada um tentar fazer um pouco, sabe? Tentar ser melhor para a coletividade, tentar ser melhor para o planeta, tentar ter uma pegada mais leve, né? Porque eu acho que nossa existência aqui na Terra, assim, é muito maravilhoso, assim, né? A gente está fazendo parte disso tudo e eu acho que vale a pena a gente ter um cuidado, sabe, com tudo isso, porque assim o planeta consegue dar tudo que a gente precisa para a gente realmente conseguir sobreviver, mas eu acho que a gente tem um certo problema de querer sempre mais, sabe?
Linda says that everybody should do a bit. I think that if everybody would do a bit and everybody would try to be a bit better, she says, but I think she also means more connected. Yeah? To understand that actually our existence in the world is something very, very wonderful. It's all there. All the let's say all is there to have a great life, and there's space for all of us and food for all of us. But we need to learn how to do it in a way that we can, that we can somehow enjoy it together and not explore one from the other.
Beautiful. I think this is also very much in line with obviously the debate that we have just seen, and the fact that both Olinda and Alton say, resources. What is this word? It's nothing different from life. It's just all encompassing, which I think is such an interesting point that a lot of us seem to have forgotten. Is there any message from you, Jochen, as well?
Well, I think there's a beautiful connection between what Olinda just said, what Ailton said in our debate, and actually what Tobias Rees said yesterday in the debate, the Q&A yesterday, when he said, I have really problems with the notion of sustainability. And when he says, because it means how long can we still do the same thing and still don't get, hang in a little bit longer. And I think when Olinda talks about the world is really marvelous in this sense, or when Ailton says we all need to, or in quotes Manuel de Barros, we all should have this desire to be a little bit of a tree or a river or a mountain at the moment. I think those are, let's say, calls for a radical shift that is not looking at how can we continue to do things without, just to hang in a little bit longer, but really how to change our mindsets. And if that of course is a process that is, I would say, slow, but I think it's possible for all of us to learn to listen to others who think totally different and who have a different cosmovision, and that maybe allow us to experiment and slowly fall in love with this other way of being. and maybe that's something we should train, we should learn.
Super. Well, this Q&A couldn't have ended in a better way. Thank you so much, Jochen. Thank you, Olinda, for your time and for being here with us today. We're now going to move forward with the closing of the summit, in which we compiled actually all of the thinking of the last 3 years. So the two of you are featuring in it as well. So thank you so much, and let's move on to the next part of the program. Bye.
Muito obrigado, Olinda. Obrigado, Anneliek. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigada.